So, hey guys, have you ever wondered exactly how much you're going to need for retirement? So, in this video, if you happen to be someone who's self employed, whether that be a hairstylist, a barber, plumber, doesn't matter. If you're someone who's self employed, I'm going to walk you through the steps you need to take in order to try to figure out how much you're going to need for retirement. And I'm also going to show you some of the best options to make sure that you're able to live in retirement comfortably without running out of money. All right. So if you are here, let me just check and make sure. And I'm also going to show you. Okay. We want to make sure everything is working properly. So hey guys, as you come on into this live stream, please like and share because I believe this is extremely valuable information. Why? You don't want to spend your entire life working, slaving away, doing whatever it is that you do. I know you may be passionate about what you do, but at some point you want to be able to relax. You want to be able to enjoy life, or you want to make sure that you are able to do it because it's a love or a passion of yours, and you want to be able to do it without necessarily having to make a living or pay the rent day to day. You know, it's very, very difficult to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing past the age 65, 70, 75 years old. So you want to make sure that you're in a position that you don't have to do it in order to put food in your mouth or keep a roof over your head, okay? So let's take a look at it. As a financial planner, one of the things that I see that happen so often is people don't have an idea of how much they're going to need in retirement. And the truth of the matter is, if you don't have an idea of what you're going to need, you can't possibly plan for it, right? So, as they always say, if you fail to plan, then what? You plan to fail. So, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. So, the first thing is we want to be able to tackle the first problem, which is how much will you need in retirement? So let's take a look at it. All right. So the first step is you want to be able to know, have an idea of how much you will need in retirement. So there are first a few rules of thumb. It may not fit exactly your situation, but it does give you something to start with. All right. So typically, what happens when you retire, your living expenses are usually lower in retirement. You're no longer working anymore, right? Maybe you had a mortgage when you were younger. Maybe at this point, you don't have a mortgage anymore. Um, so maybe you don't have car notes and some other expenses, right? So typically, your living expenses in retirement are roughly about 80% of your pre-retirement income. All right. So let's start there. But as you get older, maybe you want to travel a little bit more. So maybe because you have more time, you're able to travel. Number two, unfortunately for many of us, maybe your medicines and healthcare expenses may get higher because you're getting older and you may have some health issues. Okay. But typically, what they say is typically, if in retirement you want to take about 80% of your pre retirement income, okay? 80%. And generally speaking, that's what your retirement income would be. So let's say, for instance, it takes you $6,000 to live before you retire. Okay, so in this example, that means it's going to take about $4,800 a month. That's the example that we're going to use. Now, for easy math, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to $5,000. Okay, so $5,000 is what you need in retirement income. All right. So that's the first thing. So now we know in this example, 80%, if it costs us $6,000 a year to live now, then 80% of that is going to be roughly $4,800 or $5,000 a month. All right. So that's step number one. Step number two, the next question then becomes, how will you meet that monthly expense in retirement? Okay. So typically in retirement, Social Security would make up a portion of that, correct? So with that being the case, the average monthly check, Social Security check, is roughly $1,986 a month. So there was just a cost of living adjustment. So we're going to make that $2,000 a month. All right. So when I'm working with my clients and I'm working with self-employed people, hairstylists, barbers, or whomever, doesn't matter. One of the things, that's the first thing I ask is, what does your Social Security look like? So if you haven't done so already, you can go to ssa.gov. ssa.gov. You can open up your online account, okay? And that's where you can start getting some projected or some idea of what your monthly Social Security income will look like. Now, here's the problem or the challenge that so many people have who are self-employed. So many people who are self-employed are underreporting their income. As a result of underreporting their income, that affects their adjusted gross income, which then affects their Social Security payment. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to Social Security between now and the time you retire. I have no idea. I have no clue. With all this stuff that's going on, I don't know. But this right here, this Social Security, on average, roughly about $2,000 a month comes from Social Security. But if you are underreporting your income, guess what? It may not be $2,000 a month. It may be more, it may be less. How you know? Go to ssa.gov, open your online account so you can start seeing what's your projected Social Security benefit if you keep going the way that you're going. All right? So that's number one. The other thing is you might still be getting a pension from someplace. If you're one of the fortunate people who get a pension, that might be one of the ways that you continue to have income that's coming in to help meet that $5,000 a month. One of the other things, you might be someone who's invested in real estate. Okay? So maybe you have some rental income that's coming in. All right? To help you meet that gap. So we're going to say right here, because you're self-employed, generally speaking, you probably won't have a pension because you're self-employed, and unless you set it up to provide that pension, it won't be there. All right. Now, just for easy math, we're also going to say that you don't have any rental income coming in. All right. So that means in this example, you're going to need $3,000 a month. That's what we call the retirement gap. That's the gap. Okay? This is the gap amount. We've estimated that you need $5,000 a month to live in retirement. And All we have going towards that $5,000 a month in this example is $2,000, which is the average Social Security benefit that's coming in. And we're saying that, hey, you got a $3,000 gap that's left over. So now the question becomes, how are you going to meet that gap? Let's go ahead and do some more math. So that means that gap is $36,000 a year, okay? Because it's $3,000 a month. So now we have to figure out, where am I going to get $36,000 from? Okay. Now, the next thing is we also need to figure out, how long will we need it? Okay. Retirement age is typically 65. That's right in the middle. Now, if you are born after 1964, I believe it is, full retirement age is 67. Full retirement age, 67. So if you happen to take your Social Security income, your Social Security check, if you happen to take it before age 67, you're going to get a reduced amount. Okay? All right? But 67 is the full retirement age if you're someone who's born after 64. Guys, let me know if this is making sense. Give me a like, heart, comment. Let me know if this is something that's new to you. If this is something that that you're hearing for the very first time, I would love to know. All right. I want to make sure that I'm addressing some of the concerns, some of the questions that you may have. All right. And the only way I know that is if you let me know. All right. So in this case, if you have $36,000 a year, the question now becomes, if you retire at age 65, how long will you live in retirement? Okay. Men generally live shorter lifespans than women. So in this example, though, we're just going to say that you live another 20 years in retirement. So if you multiply 36,000 times 20, you're estimating that you're going to need $720,000 of retirement income. That's what you're estimating you're going to need. Okay? So now, does that answer your question? Let me know in the comments. Does that answer your question? Does that help to give you some idea of what you're going to need each and every month in retirement? Does that give you some idea of how you're going to meet that need, right? I just gave you that here. And then how much you have left, which is called a retirement gap amount, how much you're going to have to make up on your own. Let me know. Give me hearts, likes, thumbs up. Let me know if you're learning something here, okay? All right. So in this example, we got to come up with $720,000 that's going to last us to retirement. Now here's the thing, guys. This is the money that we need. We can't be paying taxes out of this money. This is the amount of money that you need. You can't have 720 and then have to pay taxes out of that money, because you need all of the money to live on, right? In this example. So let's go on next, okay? So now the next question then becomes, how will you get to the 720? And there are some ways that you can do it, particularly for us who are self-employed, I won't say we don't have as many options. It's just that we'll have to create some options for ourselves. Okay. So typically, for retirement's sake, there will be a 401k or a 403b or a 457 or TSP. What does all that mean? All that means is these are the different types of employer retirement accounts that you can contribute to. So the 401k is usually for private for-profit companies. 403b is usually your non-profits. Your 457 is usually your state institutions and agencies. And then your TSP, that's usually your federal retirement savings program. Okay. All right. But because we are what? We're self-employed. We're our own boss. Guess what? We have to create our own situation. All right. So what does that look like? Usually, as far as the 401k, as a self-employed person, you can create what's called a solo 401k. Okay? There are some guidelines and some stipulations. If you have employees or people that work with you, you might have to allow them to be a part of this 401k program. But if it's just you, ordinarily, you can create a solo 401k. Or you can do a regular IRA account, deferred contribution, deferred taxable account, tax advantaged account, or you can do what's called a SEP IRA. That's SEP as in Paul, a SEP IRA. Alex, what's the difference? What's the difference between an IRA and a SEP IRA? Great question. Great question you asked. Your IRA is a usual, regular, individual retirement account. This account has contribution limits. You can only contribute, I think this year, I think it's still 7,000 if I'm not mistaken. I think they change it from year to year, but I think it's 7,000 still. You can you can go back and do some research and check that. If you are over 50, you might be able to put in an additional $1,000. So the limit might be $8,000 if you are over the age of 50. All right. Now, with the SEP IRA, which is a simple employee plan, right? Simplified employee plan, IRA, right? That allows you to contribute to your IRA, but as your own boss, your boss, you can also contribute to the IRA. So the limits are actually higher, okay? I think the limit on this, like I said, check it because it changes from year to year. I think you can put in as much as $29,000. Go back and check it, okay? All right. So the great thing about that is when you're looking at all these three different accounts as a self-employed person who's your own boss, these options are cheaper than the solo 401k. Okay, so that's the reason why you want to take a look at these other two accounts, because there are expenses and fees associated with someone managing your 401k account. And so it's usually cheaper if you do IRA or SEP IRA. All right. All right. Is this good? Is this good, guys? Talk to me. Have you shared? Have you liked this this live stream? I think this is some good information. It's a lot of stuff that people don't know. All right. So let's look at it. So the next question becomes why? How and why? How and why? Why do I want to choose one of these accounts? So really, we really want to be able to take these away, to be honest. It's just confusing the situation because these are all employer sponsored plans. So we want to stick to the plans that relate to people like you and I, who are usually self-employed. All right. So now, so we know that we're going to need $720,000 to last us 20 years in retirement. Okay, that is the gap amount we have to come up with. So what does that look like? And I want to show you, there's another account here that people don't talk about that the wealthy are using, and you're going to see why in just a second. So you need 720. That's your gap amount. All right. Let's imagine that you are 35, between the ages of 30 and 40. I'm going right in the middle. All right. So we said again, these are the different places where you can put your money. You can also put your money in things like crypto. You can buy apartment buildings, single family homes, multi-family homes, right? We went over that rental income, okay? These are the accounts that where money is working for you, okay? You can put your money in a savings account, but the measly 2% that they're giving you or less than that, it won't help you get to the 720. It won't put a dent in it. All right. You can put it in money markets. You can try CDs. You can put it in all of those things. It's still not going to get you anywhere close. That's the reason why you have to be putting your money in the right investment vehicles. The right investment vehicles make a difference. Okay. So another thing that I always tell people, I always tell my clients, if you're not investing, saving, and investing your money, start today. I don't care how much it is. Start today. Here's why. Every year that you delay in saving and investing is going to cost you another 10%. So if you could have put $100 in to meet your goal of your retirement goal, if you wait one more year, it's going to cost you 10% more. Example, if it's costing you $100 a month, if you wait one more year, it's going to cost you $110 a month next year. If you wait another year, it's going to be 10% on top of that. So that's the reason why investing, saving, and investing early is so important. Why? When you're saving and investing, time is your friend, not your enemy. So you need to make sure that your money is staying inside the investment vehicle as long as possible so it can get time to compound. That is so important. Compounding is so important. Compounding interest is you being able to get interest on top of your interest. Not just your money, but it's also getting interest on the money that your money created. So that's why this stuff is really, really important. Let me know, guys. Let me know. Put in the comments. Let me know if this is making sense. Okay? All right. So now we have 35. I'm assuming you're between the ages of 30 and 40. I'll put 35 right in the middle. All right. So let's take a look. If you are 35, and again, in this example, we're assuming that you're going to take retirement at 65 and you need $720,000, that's the gap amount that you're trying to save and invest towards. Okay? If you are 35 years old, you need to be saving and investing. In this example, I said 7%. You need to save $618 a month at 7% in order for you to be able to reach your goal of $720,000 by the age of 65. Let me know if this is making sense. Let me know if this is making sense. I know one person, Isaiah. Isaiah knows this stuff like the back of his hand. I know he knows this stuff. Now, so the question becomes, guess what? You remember I said, where you put your money makes all the difference in the world. This solo 401k, this IRA, this SEP IRA, all of these accounts wind up in the stock market. That's where this money is going to, okay? And that's the reason why you're able to, why I'm putting 7%. I'm being very conservative, and here's the reason why. A lot of times when people talk about the stock market, they say the average return is anywhere between 8 and 10%. Okay? That's what they're saying. But here's the thing. The stock market goes up and down from year to year. And although it may average a certain return over a certain period of time, numerically, when it comes to the actual return and its effect on your dollars, it makes a difference. Let me give you the example. I'm going to give you a really simple example, okay? Let's say, for instance, that you have $100, and you invest that $100 and you invest it and it gives you 10% in the stock market. Stay with me. So that means the following year, your $100 grew to $110 because of this 10% annual return invested in the stock market. But let's assume in year number 2, there's a negative return of 10%. Okay? Now, what the stock market and the other stock and money managers would say is over these 2 years, you have an average return of 0% because it went up one year 10% and then it came down the next year at 10%. So you would think that your account balance, since the average of these two together is 0%, you would think you would be back down to $100, but you're not. Because in year number 2, this negative 10%, you actually lost $11. So your actual account balance is really $99. So you lost $1. But the stock market gurus will tell you that, oh, you had an average return of 0%, so you're breaking even. Now you guys can see that that's not true, right? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. So you see, that's the reason why you can't necessarily say that just because it's an average return that you get in the stock market, that average is exactly what's happening to your account. It isn't necessarily the case. All right? Because the stock market goes up, it gives, and the stock market takes away. It gives, and every 3 or 4 years it's going to take away. So all of that bouncing up and down makes a difference. So when you look at all three of these accounts, okay, like I said, the monies in these accounts goes into the stock market based on your selections and what you choose. All right. And what happens as a result as it relates to the $720,000. Okay. There are fees associated with these accounts. Okay. For the fees, what do you get? All you're doing is paying somebody to manage your money for you, and this person is trying to beat or get a bigger return than what the average stock market is going to give you. Okay, they're trying to beat the market. Most money managers over the long haul do not beat the market. So the fees that you're paying for is really just for somebody to manage your money. All right. All of these accounts, you can lose money. Okay? You can lose money. All right? What else? All of these accounts are pre-retirement or tax deferred or tax advantaged accounts, where that means that pre-tax dollars goes in. So that means that you still have to pay taxes on this money. Whatever it comes out to, you still got to pay taxes on it. All right. What else? Also, in the end, whatever monies you have, okay, if you take out more than 3 or 4% per year, if your expenses happen to go up and you withdraw more money than you expect to out of these accounts, you can run out of money. Let me know if there's any questions. Ladies and gentlemen, people watching, let me know if you have any questions so far. I got a big light spot right here in the middle. I hope you can see it. Let me turn it that way. So hopefully you can see it better. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if this is making sense. Let me know how many people out here are self-employed. How many bosses do we have out here? Put in the comments if you are self-employed or you are your own boss. Okay? So again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the $720,000 by the time we reach age 65, because that's the gap amount. We got a certain amount coming in this example, from Social Security, but we got to come up with some more because we need to make sure that we got enough money to last from 65 to 85. That's what we're trying to do. Okay? All right. So we said by using solo 401k, an IRA, SEP account, that also includes a regular stock or brokerage account, that also includes crypto. Okay, all of those things. All right. Now, when you invest your money, there are fees associated with the solo 401k, the IRA, and the SEP IRA. All right. You can lose money. You can lose you can lose money from year to year. You have to pay taxes on this money. And if you take out too much money from year to year, you can possibly run out. But there is another account. Let me just add this here. If you are 45 years old at 7%, in order to reach 720,000 by age 65, you got to put in $1,418 a month. Oh, it's starting to creep up. It's starting to get a little expensive. Why? Because you remember I said the longer you wait, the more money you have to put in, because the longer you wait each and every year, the amount of money you have to contribute goes up by 10%. So if you had started by age 35, you would only have to put in $618 a month. But because, like we do sometimes, right? We got started at 45. Now you got to put in $1,418 a month at 7% to reach the $720,000 by age 65. Enough money to last us to age 85. And then if you start at age 55, you got to put in $4,000 a month, $4,209 a month at 7%, starting at age 55 to get to the 720. Enough money to last you 20 years in retirement. Okay? Well, let's flip this. Let's flip this. There is another account, and this other account, the first thing about it, it grows tax free. That's the first thing. We're talking about this account, okay? It grows tax free. That's the first thing. Thank you, Isaiah. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's the first thing. Again, we're talking about this account. It grows tax free. Whatever monies you put into it, you can take it out tax free, and whatever it grows to, you can grow. It grows tax free. All right. What else? The growth of this account is based on the stock market, but because the money is not directly invested in the stock market, you can actually get stock market returns without losing money. So like I said, every year, on average, every 3 to 4 years or so, the stock market is going to correct. On average, it's going to correct. We don't know how much. We don't know how much it's going to go down by, but we know on average, about every 3 to 4 years or so. 5 years is a stretch. So how would you like to make sure that your money is growing tax-free without the risk of ever losing a dime? That's the power of this account. What else? This particular account gives you protection. Protection from what? If you are a self-employed person, what are we really concerned about? What if you happen to get sick and can't do whatever it is that you do? Isn't that a big concern of ours? Yes or no? It's a big concern. What happens if you happen to what? Become injured? Depending on the type of work we do, we know that it's a very likely possibility. For my hairstylists and barbers out there, we know that there's a lot of wear and tear, particularly on our hands, our shoulders, our back, our knees, our ankles, right? So this whole retirement question is really one that's timely, because we know we're not going to be able to continue doing whatever it is that we do for the rest of our lives. There will come a day and a time where you're too old, too broken down, or just don't want to do it anymore. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're forced to do it because we have to do what? Keep living, keep eating, keep paying the rent, or keeping a roof over our head. That's the reason why this conversation is so important. So this account gives you protection if you happen to become ill or injured and can't do whatever it is that you do for your livelihood. But what else does it do? It gives your family protection. if God forbid something happens to you and you pass away and you are the primary breadwinner, your family, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your significant other, if they are what? If they are dependent on this income, your income, for their livelihood, this particular account gives you the ability to protect them if something should happen to you and that income goes away. What else? What else does this account do? This account gives you the ability to have lifetime income in retirement. This becomes your own private pension account. You remember earlier I said, what flows of income do you have coming in that allows you to meet the gap that you have? And you remember some of the things I said. You want Social Security, right? Rental income from multi-family properties or rental properties. That could be a stream of income. But you remember I also said pensions. Well, most of the time, pensions are no longer. Companies not giving pensions anymore. So you have to create your own private pension. And this account allows you to do that. What account am I talking about, guys? Straight up, it's called an IUL. What does that stand for? Index Universal Life Insurance. It is not life insurance that you normally think. It's not the way you normally think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Index Universal Life Insurance gives you tax-free income, cash value that you can tap, access if you need it before you reach 59 and a half. Some of these other accounts, if you touch that money, they're going to tax you and then they're going to penalize you because you're accessing it before 59 and a half. Not with that account, not with an IUL. What else? There's never a risk of you losing money. When the stock market goes up, your account balance goes up. When the stock market goes down, your account balance locks in. You don't, that up and down game, losing money, gaining money, losing money, you don't have to ride that roller coaster when you have your money in an Index Universal Life Insurance. What else? Protection. You get protection if you happen to get sick, hurt, and unable to work. Protection for your family if you pass away and your income goes away. You're able to get lifetime income in retirement, your own private pension that these do not provide. If you're able to invest this amount and you're able to get to $720,000, guess what? When that 720 runs out, it's gone. If you have an IUL and you turn on lifetime benefits in retirement, they're going to pay you that for the rest of your life. By the way, this $618 a month put into an IUL, that is not 720. However, once you get to age 65, you can turn on lifetime benefits that will pay you $36,000 tax-free each and every year for the rest of your life. That is the power of the Index Universal Life Insurance policy. It's not the same thing that you might have heard or you might have thought about. It's not whole life. It's not the same thing. This is an altogether different beast. This thing is perhaps the most powerful and the most versatile financial tool that you can possibly have in your toolbox. So if you want to be able to learn more about that, I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Just comment below IUL. I'll be more than happy to share with you and talk about it. If you have any other questions, guys, right here, I would love to answer those questions for you. If you found this information helpful, please like and share this information because, guys, this is the type of stuff, the type of information that people are not getting. The reason why we fail and we perish is for a lack of vision. And if you don't even have a vision of what your life needs to be when it comes to retirement, How can you possibly make a plan to get there? For lack of vision, people perish. And so we want to be able to take all this stigma away, all the concerns that people have. You know what? You may not have $4,200 a month to put away at age 55. I understand that. So we just start saying, hey, how do we begin to structure your finances? How do we begin to put things together in such a way that it helps you to be able to meet your financial obligations or your financial desires and goals for retirement? And how can we protect you all the way up until retirement time? Guys, this is the type of information that we need. This is the type of stuff that we need to be talking about for a time such as now. This is critical. So if you are someone who's self-employed, if you're a hairstylist, you're a barber, even if you're not, if you are a plumber, you're an electrician, you're an HVAC person, if you are a doctor, a lawyer, it doesn't matter. These concepts and principles are absolutely the same, and they can work for you and your family. So I would love to help. All right. So if there are no other questions, or if you have questions that you would like to ask me privately, I'll be more than happy to address it. Like I said, put IUL in the comment below, or feel free to DM me directly. All right. So with that being said, take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.